I'm going to try to make this short, mostly just because it's an overview, but also so that it's easy to send. I might have to upload it to YouTube, but it's fine, maybe. But so if you, I'll just show you what I'm talking about with Phoenician, Ancient Greek, and Hebrew, and I don't know. I literally don't know if everything I'm saying is true. I know some of it. I'm pulling just what I can see and what are facts, but also clearly this stuff is all being twisted and there's all kinds of stuff that's made up. So I'm just going to try to show you what I think I'm seeing. So Genesis 11:7-9, this is when they're building the Tower of Babel, and Yahweh says, "Go, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." And that confound means to mingle. It means to mix. So it's almost like it's almost like it's using the word inversely, because confound means to mingle or to mix, and this is saying that it fractaled language into a bunch of new languages. So I don't know what that means, but that's also interesting. And Yahweh scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city, which I guess that must mean, that's just like a weird, probably like a super literal translation, and they left off to build the city. It almost sounds like they're saying they left off to build another one, but I don't think that's actually what it means. I think it's just worded strangely because of translation is odd when you're looking at interlinears. Some people criticize even reading interlinears because they say you can't actually understand the translations, what they really mean. But I think that's probably trying to misguide people, because you can take any piece of information and try to twist it, and you can be shown any kind of information and not get it, not understand it. Like, I've had to see things over and over and over again before I was like, oh, that actually is significant, that's connected, that means something. But and therefore the name of it is called Babel, because the Lord did there confound their language. That's why, I guess that's probably why we call Babel. Fun fact is actually that barbarian, the word barbarian, comes from the Greeks, and it referred to people, it was kind of derogatory, it referred to people who didn't speak Greek, because they said all other languages sounded like gibberish, and they said it sounded like bar, 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 bar. They were making fun of it. And so here we go. Hellenized Jews lived in the urban settings of Greece, Egypt, and Turkey from 200 BC to the modern era, probably actually before that. This I would suggest is why there is such difficulty parsing Hebrew from Greek. They're nearly the same culture, they're nearly the same language. I get the sense that this is a controversial thing to notice, but if you look at this, this is the two flags, the Israeli flag and the Greek flag. And not only is it the same colors with stripes, but actually those two symbols are connected, which I'm about to show you here, because this is the Greek form of the four elements, air, water, fire, earth. You can see that there are four different triangles, two pointing up, two pointing down, and there's a line through two of them to represent air and earth, while the regular ones are water and fire. You put those two together, you actually get the two kinds of baptism, fire and water, as above, so below, right? So right there it says, in classical element systems, each element has two qualities and it shares each quality with one another. So it's also this invert triangle, and they represent that cross right there, the compass. That's the Templar cross, and it is a one-to-one representation of the Star of David, what it's called, the Star of David. Before that, it was called the Solomon's Seal, and that is confusing because Solomon is obviously the son of David, but Solomon is who they wrote about using that kind of stuff first, and then it got changed to the Star of David as they were basically trying to bury where it comes from. Because this stuff also, that symbol, there's a Japanese version of it. This symbol right here, there's a Japanese version of it that has its own name, and they literally just play it off as like a coincidental symbol, even though it basically means the same thing. And also the same for there's another culture. I mean, in Indian culture, they have the same thing. There's a symbol that is exactly that, and of course, because these are the shapes that we see in the world, and this is the as above, so below is a universal concept. But here, so now you have here air, water, fire, earth, right? Those lines. Well, when you put all of that together, including the two lines that dash through air and earth, that when that makes the Star of David symbol. And the fifth element, like you know the movie Fifth Element, if you watch that again after you start to learn all this stuff, you see all kinds of crazy things they're putting in there. The fifth element is the aether, when you put all four elements together, which I think that's what the movie says, is you put all four elements together. But if we just to make sure that you're seeing how intrinsic this is to Greek, not just Hebrew or whatever, but the Greeks proposed the existence of 5 basic elements. Of these, 4 were the physical elements: fire, air, water, and earth, of which the entire world is composed. Alchemists eventually associated 4 triangle symbols to represent these elements. The 5th element, which goes by a variety of names, is more rarefied than the 4 physical elements. And I'm going to get into the language stuff right here. So this is Hebrew and ancient Greek next to each other. And I want you to see that it is basically the same alphabet, which means that one of them came from the other. And we know the mainstream narrative of which one is older, but you're just gonna have to start looking at some of this stuff, because look at this. This not only are most of the letters the same, but they're in the same order and in the same place sets. So you've got the Hebrew Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daleth, and then you have Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, or Delta. It's the same. Same here with, this is Tet, Yod, Kap, or Kaf, and this is Theta, Iota, Kappa. It's Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samek, Lambda, Mi, Ni, Pi, but there's P, Samek, and there's Sigma, Samek, Samek, Sigma, Tau, and then the X is confusing. I can't get into that right now, but it's either Hey or it's actually supposed to be the Kaf, but I can't. That's something confusing. But so one of these came from the other is basically what you have to kind of conclude. And this is Paleo-Hebrew script. This is what they say was the original Hebrew, and they will kind of admit to a derivative, basing it off of Phoenician. But what I really think is, I'm pretty sure, if you just look at that, you look at Paleo-Hebrew, and now you look at Phoenician, I'm pretty sure the Phoenician and the Paleo-Hebrew are literally just the same alphabet. Because you can pause this and look at the difference. I think that they've just kind of slapped on the term Paleo-Hebrew onto just a more developed version of Phoenician, the Phoenician alphabet, the same way. Like it would be like them trying to take Old English from like 500 years ago, the stuff we can hardly even read, and then literally just saying that was a separate people and a separate culture and a separate language. And they go, yeah, maybe it was based off the same thing, but that's not the point, because it diverged and it made up its own thing and it has nothing to do with anything else anyway. That's kind of what they're trying to say. But if you look at the Phoenician, you can see it has no vowels, and that's the vowels are what is going to turn into alpha, and this is Omicron. It's not even Omega, but they parse. But you started with alpha. This either is Omicron or it's the original Omega, but I don't know. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is that ancient Greek came from Phoenician. You can see by looking at that that came from this, obviously. And then this does not look like they just allegedly made up a brand new alphabet and based it off of, quote unquote. No, it looks like they just, like, this is just maybe a couple hundred years later when the language had evolved a little more, and now they're trying to say that it's this separate language that was built maybe from Phoenician, but it's still separate and it's completely unconnected, and it's probably older than Greek. How dare you, is kind of what they're trying to say. And it's just ridiculous, because this is just like the final version of Hebrew that they went with is it's based on Babylonian and Persian influence. That's why the letters turn into that instead of being Greek, even though they were all speaking Greek everywhere, basically. I don't know if I missed anything important, but yeah, I'm not telling you what to think. I know I'm seeming very assertive about this. I really believe that it's somewhat close to the truth, but you got to think for yourself, obviously. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's something going on.